Another great day for some big four analysis as we'll be taking this Saturday to look at XRP, Solana, Ethereum, and Bitcoin, maybe even in that order as well. Before we get into this analysis, which is going to be mostly focused on the higher term timeframes, I should let you know that we're actually having a major offer right now to kind of test a few new features over here, and you can actually grab the Crown VMP indicator package from the Teachable link in the description below for free for the first month. You can just try it out. All you need to do is just follow this link over here and use the code. Very important. Use the code at checkout, trial in all capitals. You can try it out for 30 days free, and you can literally just cancel your subscription as soon as you sign up if you have no intention to actually go forwards with it. But we really want to test out our new system because we do have an automated access giver for the indicator, so you can essentially just get them as soon as you click a few buttons. Anyways, and we need a little bit of feedback on that. So that would also be appreciated as well if you have any issues. Anyways, let's start it off here with XRP. XRP continues to look like the most different than all the other major market cap coins. We can see that XRP has once again come off of the low side of this range, and following the LARP line from last week when I believe we looked at it, I'm still kind of looking at something like this overall. XRP is not in the same sort of situation that we see on most of the majors where it is, below all major moving averages. This one actually still well above that white 200 simple and blue 377 exponential. So I do look at this one as different. And if Bitcoin has any sort of, upwards bounce, this one should actually overperform. Looking at daily time frame, we can see that there is some bullish divergence forming off of these last few lows. And on top of that, we're going to see that daily stochastic momentum over here is going to flip back up today, actually, assuming that this one can hold above $2.01 right now, trading nearly 41 cents above that number. So, I do like this one for a bit of a bounce, but overall, I'd still be looking for this range to kind of play out on the more medium to higher term time frame look of this. However, holding this range sideways over a long enough period of time is going to be, considered more and more bullish, obviously. And while I do think that there will be some pullbacks within this range, along the way, ultimately, the second that this thing trades back above its March highs, the second that it reclaims the March high, I break out to new all-time highs. Okay, maybe not that exact same second, obviously, but the path for it at that point, extremely likely to retest prior all-time highs, and in my opinion, very likely to make new all-time highs. So that's a daily right there. Let me just make sure that I'm referencing my notes over here properly. Yeah, the daily and the 2-day time frame both going to be headed in the same direction here, assuming that XRP can close above 243, and the 3-day time frame, I believe, also closing tomorrow alongside the weekly, is going to have a chance to flip back up here, assuming that it continues to remain above 215 by tomorrow. So we're starting to see those higher term time frame stochastic momentum pivots favor upside once again. The very, very high term time frames like the weekly, bi-weekly, and monthly, these ones are still a little bit more corrective, which is why I do say this one's still likely to kind of fill out this range for a little bit of time. This range being, again, the lows around about $2 on a closing basis versus the highs. I would even just say it is essentially the high of March, which is basically $3. So, as long as it's between there, nothing really changes. But I do look at this as flipping around to being a period of reaccumulation, especially as long as it can hold above that $2 pivot. And I'd be looking for something like this. I mean, maybe it doesn't come down exactly to this low again, but you get the idea. Sideways is going to be good for XRP here. It does have one of the better charts. Anyways, on top of that, I should also take a quick look at the quarterly time frame because we are going to be closing a quarterly at the end of this month in just a couple of weeks. And as it stands right now, XRP not really confirming the breakout. I would say that the breakout is confirmed on a quarterly close of above. $3 would be super fucking obvious, but I think even above about 260 or so, that would make me very interested on a on a quarterly basis. And you can see that the quarterly does have an actual reversal here. I mean, it is on higher lows already. You see 1-2 right here, and it already has a higher high than what we saw in July of 2021. So trend continuation on the very, very high term timeframes would be to the upside. So, XRP, funnily enough, or maybe not funnily enough, looking as if it is one of the strongest of the high market cap coins. Moving on from there, we should check out Solana. We'll also do the pairs as well between these, just to see which one is strongest. But Solana is certainly the weakest. Well, I mean, you can maybe make that argument for Ethereum as well, but Solana, coming off of the bottom side of its long-term trading range here, as you can see, the same shit that we've had essentially marked off since, I mean, this is going back to now August, so about 6 months ago. Or is that 6 months ago? Yeah, about 6 months ago, a little bit more perhaps. I think it was maybe better seen on this chart over here. And again, Solana, it's kind of just by the virtue of retesting the low side of these, of this range, where we have seen all of these nasty washouts kind of get stopped, you're very likely to bounce on this, on this current pass. We also see that daily stochastic momentum is headed up here. There is a slight amount of bullish divergence, and that is going to be consistent as long as this thing is above 114 on a closing basis for the daily. So I do look for this one to generally bounce outside of this region, similar to XRP. I don't have super strong opinions on if it comes back down and retests this region first or not, and then has a bigger bounce, or if it just bounces from here. It's kind of the same thing to me. I don't think it's going to break down. One, I do think that generally you're going to bounce from here, whether it's, literally from this current low or it comes back down and retests close to that low. But for Solana, this one it does look a lot different than the other majors, just because, well, this one's already back down around those 2024 consolidation lows, which for Bitcoin would be akin to like $50,000 on the bottom side of that range. So, well, I do think it's going to bounce here. Longer term, I do think that Solana is losing its appeal compared to other major crypto assets, just because, well, Solana has a lot more work to do, and if this market does turn around, I expect that Solana will, probably do okay, but it'll be outpaced by many other things. Anyways, going back over here, let me just double check. Yeah, also on the daily time frame, we can see that there is bullish divergence forming right there as well between this low from the late February dump to the current low of this past week. And on top of that, we're going to see the daily jewel flip back up here as well, it looks like. So very, very likely, a nice bounce in line here. And also, now that I recognize it, double extremes on the daily BBWP. So I do think that this downside move is not going to be going much lower than where it currently is at right now on especially like a closing basis. And generally this area here between about 120 to 110 to the downside is a bounce region. And I'd be expecting a bounce before any potential catastrophic failure. And how high can that bounce come? It could easily work its way back up to like 155, 160-ish region. Doesn't really do anything. Similar to XRP, I wouldn't be making excuses for this one to be bullish as long as we're below that March high, which for Solana is actually all the way at 179.5. So as long as it's below there, trends are still to the downside, and I'd be very skeptical of any bounce producing a reversal. But this could be a tradable bounce, I suppose, depending upon your preferences. Still like a decent percentage move right there. So fair enough. Anyways, moving on, let's actually look at the quarterly really quickly here too. I think the quarterly for Solana is also of concern, perhaps. If we do see the quarterly close below the last quarterly low, which was 133, which is pretty much out right now. Again, there's 2 weeks left in this quarter to go, but that's going to really start to make this look like one major macro rejection. But for right now, hopium still remains alive, and especially if Solana does, bounce up to that 155, 160-ish region, and then hold that by the end of the month and quarter close, that would look okay. Of course, it's not going to change much on this, I suspect, unless if Solana does reclaim 250. Higher term time frame momentum continues to the downside, so I do think that it is range bound for quite some time at best. It's going to require like a strong broad market in order to bring this one up, meaning that Bitcoin would need to move to significantly new highs, I would expect. Anyways, moving on from there, we should check out Ethereum, also of the perennial disappointment categories, similar to, well, not so similar to Solana. Solana had a great 2024, just a terrible 2025 so far. And Ethereum right here, again, has not made new highs for this cycle. In fact, I could even argue that, it didn't really even get close to those prior highs. Looking at the quarterly right here, this one has the same sort of issue as Solana. If we do see it close below that July 2024 low, which is 2,059 by end of month, I'd be looking at this as, well, as a clear, as a clear swing high right here. And, Ethereum likely to come back down towards at least 1,500, maybe even all the way down to like 1,200 or so before the next sort of major higher term time frame bounce attempt. But for right now, you have to be asking yourself, is Ethereum likely to break down if the rest of the market is kind of looking for a bounce? No, I wouldn't bet on it at least. Going over to our daily time frame, we can see that same potential for bullish divergence is forming here. It'll actually be fully confirmed if you do see a closure above 1971, 1969, no, 1963 on a daily closing base. If you see that, that confirms this is a local low, thus a lower low plus higher lows on our momentum oscillators. So very likely, again, a bullish divergence bounce in play, or at least coming up. We see the exact same double extremes on daily volatility right here. So a lot of the time you're going to get a mean reversion play after that. And of course, if the trend was to the downside, mean reversion would be obviously bounce in this case. Looking at stochastic momentum here, I should also note that the daily time frame is continuing up or about to freshly cross up. And actually, I think I forgot on XRP, we spoke about that. Solana, did I speak about that? I think I might have missed that one, but the daily is turning up here as well. So ultimately, the picture that I'm trying to paint is that all of these things are kind of setting up for short, medium term bounces. Coming off of these major range lows, and for Ethereum, a little bit lower than that, I suppose. But I would still, especially for Ethereum and Solana, be more critical of the higher term timeframes, just because the monthly stochastic momentum here is continuing to be a problem. And one of the simple rules that we've been looking at for the monthly for Ethereum, since we started doing these like higher term timeframe analysis, on these big fours back in, I think it was August or maybe before then, we were saying, hey, look, as long as the monthly stochastic oscillator is positioned to the downside, like there's no sense in being optimistic on this thing for the long run. Can you get your bounces on your daily? Sure, yeah, absolutely. But on your monthly, still a problem. And this one is now pivoted at basically 2,700. We've seen Ethereum many times since last year, this whole past year, have a very close chance to actually cross that monthly momentum back to the upside, and it would always fail on like the last day or the last couple of days of the month every fucking time. So I would really again caution against front running any sort of real trend shift here as long as this one is positioned to the downside. I look for Ethereum to be generally corrective and rallies to get stopped at at some point. But as far as how high can this rally go, it could easily go up to almost 2,200 and not really do anything. Similar to the other majors, as long as Ethereum is below, especially the March highs, I don't think that there's any threat. Oh, nice. The alarm line's already got it right here. I don't think that there's any threat as long as it is below that March high of a real reversal. And then, of course, that wouldn't even fulfill the monthly momentum pivot. Again, that is about a couple $100 higher than that March high. So, I'd really be having my eyes on about 27 to 2,800 as long as it's below there. Hard one to love, but it can get some big bounces here. And like I said, I could easily see this thing bounce up to like 21, 2,200. Doesn't really do too much for it. Kind of similar to the other ones, or at least similar to Solana in that it needs a strong broad market. Now, before we go on to Bitcoin, I do want to look at the pairs versus each other, because I think this is actually quite interesting. We can look at XRP versus Ethereum. We can see that pair over here on Binance, and as you would expect, XRP is in a pretty healthy uptrend versus Ethereum. So, at least in the more near term. Obviously, if we go very, very long term, that's not necessarily true, but in this case, XRP, I do believe is going to continue to gain versus Ethereum. Is it going to flip Ethereum? I don't fucking know, but I would be expecting it to likely continue up a lot more on the higher term timeframes. There's going to be pullbacks on a chart like this in the short term, but this is very clearly and obviously an uptrend here. In fact, probably has a pullback coming in relatively soon relative to each other, just because we do see many drives of bearish divergence starting to form here on the daily, but they're trying to see upside, so just be looking for higher lows within that regard. Quarterly time frame, again, bullish. I expect this one to move up like a decent amount more, maybe even like 2x from here. Before the end of the year is over. Anyways, let's also look at Solana versus XRP, or Solana versus Ethereum. I think we can already guess what Solana versus Ethereum is going to look like, but Solana versus XRP, this is XRP as a denominator now. So I think we looked at this one on Friday's live stream. I'm bearish on this. Again, I think XRP is going to gain versus Solana as well. So if you are looking at the big four, the big market cap things between XRP, Solana, and Ethereum, I think over the long run, XRP is in a much better position here to gain versus those things. Doesn't necessarily mean XRP will go up versus US dollar, by the way. These ratios can go in XRP's favor if XRP just doesn't fall as much, for example, than the other two. But in this case, just like the other one, am I looking for a bounce relatively soon here? Yeah, but your trend is your friend, and this one has a clear and obvious swing high and swing low. I think eventually, probably before this year is over, you will see this one back down around like the prior all-time lows from August and July of 2023. So again, XRP, set up well versus those things. And then I guess we can just quickly look at Solana versus Ethereum. I know a lot of people are interested in this as well. Even Solana looks like it might continue to outperform Ethereum, which is just pathetic at this point, to be honest. I called a top on this one a couple of months ago. I think I'm going to be wrong on this one. I think I'm going to be wrong on calling a top right here. I do think that this one is continuing to show strength, and it's hard to be bearish on this as long as it's above the February lows at 55 butyrols, or 0.55 butyrols. Whatever the fuck the denominating currency is right there. But basically this low right here is what I'm trying. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Let me just go for this one. Boom. Okay. There we go. Lovely. As long as it's above this low right here, I'd actually have to still be bullish on Solana versus Ethereum. The second that it takes out that low, okay. Yeah. You're going to see a big pullback, probably down around here, meaning that Ethereum will gain versus Solana. But until that happens, the trend is your friend, and the trend is still to the upside and continues to put on higher lows even on the weekly time frame. So I look at this one as, again, Solana a little bit more relatively strong than Ethereum, meaning that, again, doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to go up versus US dollars, but if they both go down, Solana would go down percentage-wise, a little bit less, perhaps. Anyways, moving on from there, we'll finish this one off with Bitcoins, with the old coins right here, 5-day time frame and weekly time frame closed for CME yesterday. Again, I'm just going to bring up the HPDR bands here because it has been getting these ranges incredibly well. You can see that Bitcoin is obviously playing between the 61.8 and the 78.6 level. You can see that tests on both sides here. So we don't have any sort of break of the range. We just have a play on the range. As long as Bitcoin's below that 61.8 level at about 88,000 and above the 78.6 level at 78,500 bucks. Again, this is on CME. No real changes here for me. Still, I would like to acknowledge that higher term timeframes are hard to love here, at least for the at least for now. Really would like to see the monthly reclaim the median. That would be a very obvious bullish pivot. It is essentially this month's high as well. That's where I'd be very interested in just flipping around to being blindly bullish for Bitcoin. Expecting new all-time highs. Perhaps talks of 120 to 150 after that point become relevant once again, but for right now, operating decently below there. And on top of that, let me just bring up that monthly stochastic momentum because, as long as this one is positioned to the downside, again, it's hard for me to be like higher term time frame bullish. But of course, the longer that it's been kind of hanging around here without breaking down, that is going to be considered long term bullish, but obviously needs to hang here, right? Anyways, my point is for Bitcoin, ranges here haven't really changed throughout this week. Nothing really new to kind of update right there. I'd more or less be looking for the same thing to kind of play out coming into next week as well. And similar to all the other majors, Bitcoin likely has a bounce here. I do think that this one can bounce up, 88,000, maybe even 90,000 if things get super crazy. But I would be still skeptical of seeing any sort of upside breakout this month, at least this month. Maybe in April it could happen, but in March, I don't think that's in store here. And also I should recognize that yesterday and the day prior, are, I was looking for Bitcoin. Let me just pull my Bitcoin chart, my Bitcoins chart over here. I was looking for Bitcoin to come down a little bit closer to that low. I think that's going to be wrong here. It still has a chance, I suppose, but you're starting to see all of these divergences play out. You see the same volatility reads here on Bitcoin that we saw in all of the other majors. So, I look at this as a good signal that Bitcoin, similar to the other ones, it's like, it might come down and retest these lows again. I'm still kind of split on that, but generally this is a bounce region, and should extend the bounce a little bit more before it, if it is going to actually break down later. Again, could easily come down and retest here, even now, I suppose, but it is looking less and less likely, I guess. So short-term bounce, but again, just similar to the other ones as well. If you want like the most simple analysis, which is, in my opinion, the most profound analysis right here, as long as you're below that March high, nothing really super exciting to the upside. Until then, ranges I think are the play here. Anyways, that's where I'm going to be signing off for today. A little bit longer than what I expected. Again, I want to point out that you can get the Crown VMP for free, the whole package for 30 days with the code TRIAL in all capitals for the monthly plan. You can literally just unsubscribe right after that if you don't want to pay anything. You just want to try them out. It's all good. We are kind of testing new features that handle giving out access, and of course, we might even, if this is successful, put that over to all of the other programs as well. We shall see. I like the idea of try before you buy. Anyways, cool. That's where we'll end for today. As always, I want to wish you the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully tomorrow.